Like I said, David, well, welcome to our Inasmuch Foundation history series. If you want to tell us just a little bit about your earliest memories of meeting Edith and where that, how,
Sure,
what those meetings led to.
sure. I joined Arthur Anderson and Company here in Oklahoma City in 1963 after I graduated from Central State University, and I met him. That was in June of '63, and I met him in January of the next year, January of '64. And he was at that time he was 90. I'm sorry, he was 91, and I was 21, and and he lived for 10 years.
Wow.
And so I knew him for 10 years, and I would go up to his office at least once a week. And I originally went up there to help keep the books for the Gaylord Guernsey Farm, which is a
Is that a dairy
farm
farm?
they had up near Lake Hefner.
Yeah.
And then from that I met his longtime secretary, Helen Cole, who was with him when he passed away after 10 years. And then we started doing his personal tax work as well. So I got to know him very well. He would call Arthur Anderson office and ask to speak to Mr. Hogan. I didn't know what he was talking about. I kept trying to tell him to call me David, and finally, after about the last 2 years of his life, he would call me David. I thought that was a real accomplishment that I got to know him that well. And then I also got to know his wife Inez, not nearly as well, but she would come to some of the meetings at his office, or on rare occasion I would meet them for lunch at the Beacon Club. And she said she didn't like to come downtown or to his office because her driver, Raymond, some person named Raymond, I believe, said he drove too slowly. So, and anyway, those are some of the memories I have.
That's great. And what was E.K. Gaylord like as a person, as a business person?
Well, he was obviously very, very intelligent and pretty matter of fact. He didn't joke around a lot, although he had a good sense of humor. But he was very successful in primarily his investment in the paper here in Oklahoma City. But anyway, that's.
Yeah.
I've spent quite a bit of time in his office with him.
And so then after he passed away, you started working with, had you already been working with Edith and her brother Edward L. by then?
Not Edward L. I mean, I'd met Edward L., but not, at least not before his dad passed away. I didn't work with him much. But as I was saying earlier, when Edith came back from having lived in D.C. and New York City and moved back to Oklahoma City, and then I think she was either on the Oklahoman board at the time, or shortly thereafter became the secretary of the board. And I started doing her personal tax work. And then following that, then she formed Inasmuch and Ethics and Excellence in Journalism Foundations. And I was one of the 3 original trustees. And we would have quarterly trustee meetings. And so I would see Edith at those meetings. We would have luncheons in connection with those meetings, as well as other times when she would come downtown and meet with your dad and myself. And we would spend quite a bit of time with Edith as a result of both her personal tax work and the foundation work. So
when E.K. died in 1974, I remember you and Dad telling me a story about having to go to Washington, D.C. Was that because of the estate taxes, and kind of what was the reason for that trip and the story behind it?
The trip was, we had done, Arthur Anderson and myself, we had done E.K.'s estate tax return. And we had gotten the company to value the foundation, the company's stock that E.K. owned that was included in his estate. And the IRS took issue with that valuation. So we got it down to, that was really the only thing that was still in controversy. And so we went to D.C. and met with a representative of the Internal Revenue Service, and we were able to negotiate a settlement that day with them, and we still had time. Your dad and I had time to do really a quick tour of of D.C., and most of it was on foot, by the way.
Wow.
Both of us were walking much quicker back in those days. We did, I think we did take it seemed like they had a train service or something that we did take, but we went out to Georgetown, went to the Lincoln Memorial, spent a few minutes,
Yeah.
and the Washington Memorial, we saw both of those. We went to the, I think the Library of Congress, Supreme Court, so just outside the Supreme Court, see the steps and so on. And so yeah,
made
that was
a trip of it.
Yeah, we sure did.
But was that settlement with the IRS pretty important for the family and the company? And
yes, it was. I mean, there was a state tax involved, and back then there was an unlimited estate tax for surviving spouse. It was only half, so there was tax
consequence.
due. So yeah, well,
Do you remember? Colorado College played a big role in EK's life. Obviously, he went to Colorado College, and so did Edith. And then they now the school sends us all these reports on the endowments that EK set up. My recollection was some of those were set up for estate planning purposes. Do you recall how those endowments got set up by EK? Because now, they're worth, millions of dollars.
Right.
My understanding was some of that might have been estate planning after he putting in trusts to go to the school, and then it comes back to the family after a certain amount of time, and that was that allowed the family to not have to have a real big burden on estate tax.
My recollection is EK made some gifts while he was still living, and those were in charitable lead trusts, I believe, and that means our charities were paid. I think we set it up as a 10-year lead trust, and then the remainder interest. And he lived long enough that then passed to his heirs with no. There was some tax, gift tax on the front end, and but not a lot. Just very minimal gift tax that was paid, and. So that did minimize the family's estate taxes over the years.
That was my recollection too, and it benefited Colorado College.
Absolutely,
big time.
Yes,
they're living off the earnings now, which is great.
Yeah, my notes. Inasmuch has made a difference in the lives of hundreds and maybe thousands of people in need in the greater Oklahoma City area, as well as Colorado Springs, and to a lesser extent in other parts of the country. That's the most significant thing that I think of as I think of the foundation and the benefit it's provided for
the community,
its constituents.
It's pretty neat to think about something that you've worked on since 1982. Now, as you know, on the investment side, is worth $600 million, giving away $30 million a year. It didn't start that big.
Oh, gosh.
It started. Maybe talk about a little how it started and what the. Do you think Edith would have had any idea it would be worth what it is today?
No. Well, Edith, as I've said earlier, she formed the foundations, both Inasmuch and Ethics and Excellence, with an initial gift of $1 million each.
Yeah.
And during her lifetime, she added to that to some extent, but I think both foundations maybe at the time were $2 million or so. She had made some gifts as she went along. But when she passed away, the majority, almost her entire estate, passed to the foundations.
Edith started the foundations with a pretty small amount of money. And do you think she would have envisioned the foundation ever reaching $600 million, giving away $30 million?
Well, no, not even her. Her estate at the time she died, I don't remember the number, but it was far less than $100 million at her death, and primarily her stock in the Oklahoma Publishing Company.
Yeah.
But no, it's really amazing how much it has grown, as you referred to, and given away millions of dollars over that whatever period of time that's been.
Isn't that great? Yeah, and just for you personally, is that just pretty neat to have that as something you've worked on for
Oh,
one of the
sure.
things you've worked on your whole life?
Yeah, very definitely.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
And all the people it's impacted, and
Yes.
it's quite the thing.
Some of the memories I've noted include working with the other trustees originally, and then more recently the directors of the foundation, and the staff of the foundation. I'll always have those memories for my benefit, and hopefully as well as theirs.
Yeah.
And then including those meetings with directors and previously trustees, we made numerous trips.
Yes.
We went to New York City, Boston, San Francisco, Palo Alto, Houston, and other locations.
Yeah.
As a member and then eventually chairman of the investment committee. And we met with many investment managers who serve large charitable organizations as well as individuals. And I think I learned much from those meetings.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we would question them, they would question us, and I hope I learned quite a bit.
And we had fun along the way too.
We certainly did.
We ate a few dinners.
Great dinners, really did. Yeah, I don't remember a bad dinner. Some were better than others, but they were all good.
They were all good,
Yes,
weren't they?
very good.
And we had trips to the Broadmoor, of course, for our retreats.
Yes.
You
I
like
love
going to the Broadmoor for meetings?
I've been there many times, both with Inasmuch Ethics Foundations and also with the E.L. and Thelma Gaylord Foundation. So, yes, I definitely enjoy going out there.
Yeah, great memories. And one of our first staff members, in fact, the first one hired was Nancy Hodgkinson, who worked. You mentored her for years and years.
Nancy worked. She first worked at Arthur Anderson, and then she left shortly after I started at Anderson, and I can't remember. She did something else for a while, and then she came to work for the foundations, and I really enjoyed working with Nancy. She's very, very smart, unassuming, but always learning. She's always, and then she ended up, I think, getting her divinity degree.
She
became
sure did.
A minister.
Isn't that amazing?
And, yes. So
my first memory with you, as far as the foundation goes, is meeting in Dad's office over at the law firm in First National, and we were talking about the asset allocate. You know, you and Dad were in the process of selling the Viacom and the Gaylord Entertainment stock and some of the other holdings, and the idea was to sell that and diversify. And so you taught me a lot about asset allocation and diversifying your investments. And I remember we were looking to hire a consultant to help us with an investment policy statement, and we hired a group from Memphis.
Yes.
And they were really funny. It was this big kind of Southern guy that this older gentleman that was in charge of us, and he came and told us about investment policy statements and how to frame this. And of course, they ultimately wanted our money to invest. And you were adamant. You said, no, all we need from you is the plan. You have to just forget about getting any of the money.
True.
And I thought that was good because you wanted it separated. You didn't want the thought of them getting the money clouding their
for them to manage the money.
Yeah.
We just wanted them to provide us with asset allocation, including target percentage, initial target percentages, and that then we would deal separately with the asset allocation.
And implementing it.
And in that regard, I think you and I have talked about this many times. I've been quite a follower of Warren Buffett over the years. In fact, you and I have went to at least 2 of his annual meetings, and I went to several more in addition to that. But I really like his, he said the time to sell stocks is when you need the money, and the time to buy stocks is when you don't need the money. But don't try to time the market other than that. And it's called benign neglect, I call it.
That's good. That's good advice.
Yes. And just long-term investing and try to buy good stocks, good securities, and then
hold them.
Try to avoid the noise that you hear every day on the market. You can go really around in circles if you try to buy and sell when you think you can time the market. So,
Another piece of advice I learned from you is you said this, and I'll never forget it. You said 99% of investments is your asset allocation. It's 99% of your return.
it's a big part of
It's
it.
a
The
big
asset
part.
allocation and prudent rebalancing, either to target percentages or bands, taking bands into account with respect to those asset allocation percentages. And I think we've followed that pretty successfully over the 20, 30 years that we've been working together.
We sure have. But I'll never forget it. And then back to, I forget what, I was trying to remember the story, but the Memphis guy, he was this big, kind of bigger than life guy, and he came to Oklahoma City, and he said something about, we were talking about hedge funds, and at that time we didn't want to get into hedge funds and private equity because, of course, we owned 13% of the publishing company, and we felt like that was risky enough. But he said something about hedge funds and how they've got these, supercomputers that are picking stocks, and they're, the computer is smarter than the man. The computer is smarter than the man. And you said something like, well, that'd be like giving the dog the gun when you go hunting. Do you remember that conversation?
I can't remember it. I do remember that those comments.
They were trying to tell us all we need to do is turn this thing over to the computer.
Yeah.
And
I said that'd be like if you go hunting and give the dog the gun. Yeah.
You said time out.
Yeah.
We're not handing it over to a computer.
Right.
I had some hedge fund formula.
Right.
And I'll never forget that. When you hunt, do not give the dog the gun. That does not make sense. No, those were good memories. I was over in the old law office, sitting there for hours, trying to figure out how to reinvest and deploy this money. So that was a good.
I've enjoyed being able to meet the staff of the grantees.
Yes.
That Inasmuch has funded, and to meet the individuals served by those agencies was even more compelling. I think getting to know how the foundation's money has actually impacted the lives of the ultimate recipients or of the programs provided by those grantees is really important. That reminds me of the foundation of the impact it has in the areas that it serves. So.
Well, and David, you've always been quiet, but you could have a big heart, and you're passionate about our nonprofits in Oklahoma. I mean, all the Center for Nonprofits and the One Awards and all the nonprofit organizations you supported in Tulsa with your time. And I was just curious, talk a little bit about what drives you in your own personal philanthropy. Like what is it that causes you to want to give back and be involved, both not just with your money, but with volunteering and being supportive?
That question reminds me, my mother wanted me to be a minister. And I disappointed her. I didn't become a minister, I became a tax advisor, which is a long way from being a minister. But she was a very giving person and always, although we were from fairly modest means as I was growing up, my dad was a country banker, and we would always, as a family, and they as individuals and adults, while children were growing up, they would give to people, and sometimes not even looking for publicity or even no one would know about it.
Yeah.
And that always impressed me.
Impressed you, inspired you. And then what about your own family? I mean, your daughter, Amber, obviously has high needs, but you've seen how that nonprofit and that facility has helped her. Is that a source of inspiration?
That's part of it too, sure. Amber, we adopted Amber when we took her as a foster daughter originally, and then when she was 5 years old, we adopted her. And initially, she was not supposed to live past 14. That was her prognosis, medically speaking. And after many surgeries and doctor's care and medication, she's still living. She'll be 52. I'm sorry, she just turned 52.
Wow.
And
so you've seen how that facility that she's at,
she's at Gatesway, a care facility for the mentally handicapped, and and physically handicapped. She's now confined to a wheelchair, but yes, I mean, I talk to her, if not daily, by telephone. I talk to her at least every other day, and I'll go see her every other week as a minimum.
Well, you've played such a big role in helping, certainly two of the largest foundations in the country and the state, Inasmuch and the Gaylord Foundation. You played the role of helping with all the investments, and those investments have grown, and they've allowed more money to go to charity that helps people.
Yeah,
That's been your gift to the foundations.
That's been a big part of both those foundations.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
That's been your gift. And I felt like you were always so interested and involved in the grant side, but your passion and your talents lay in helping make money.
Public accounting was my main career, but then I got really, I don't know, just personally, and then trying to work with clients on investing monies, I really became interested in investing funds. And I too late in my career, I didn't pass all three parts, but I passed 2 levels of the Chartered Financial Analyst examination, and that's a big part of investing. Mm-hmm. So that really helped me with the understanding of how investments work too. Been impressed. The foundation has become a leader in greater Oklahoma City and Colorado Springs areas in the important nonprofit arena.
Yes.
And growing the foundation to its present size, mm-hmm. while also making significant grants each year is significant. And the gifts to the Oklahoma City Food Bank, mm-hmm. Educare, and to Colorado College, Arts Museum are especially memorable. And we made a trip to more than once out to Colorado Springs to see that museum under construction, and then we went to its grand opening.
Absolutely, and they named it after Edith.
They did, and we saw a performance of mm-hmm. Acrobats or people rappelling off the building. Yeah, as I recall.
That was pretty impressive, wasn't it?
It was, very definitely. Helping improve the lives of numerous individuals comes to mind.
Sort of that ripple effect. If you help the mom, that helps the kids, that helps the grandkids. I mean, right. It's sort of a ripple effect, isn't it?
No question about it. And I've already touched on this, but I'll just summarize again. The ability to experience how the Gaylord family has been such an important part of Oklahoma, as well as other parts of the country for many years. Mm-hmm. Serving as a trustee and director has permitted me to see the benefit it has provided to many needy individuals.
Oh yeah, so where are we going to be, you think, I don't know, 40 years from now?
Well,
what are we going to...
I'd like to see you grow it to $1 billion, continue to give away the required 5%.
Yeah, don't forget that.
To do that, you do need investments need to keep performing.
Yep.
The world needs to keep growing financially.
Yeah.
And I think it will, mm-hmm. again, with all the ups and downs and the fits and starts. There's more and more people that want to improve their standard of living, and I think they have the ability more so now than they ever did before. And I think with reasonable success on the investment side, you should be able to accomplish that. So
I definitely want to hit $1 billion. That would be a really cool mark to hit. That will be a neat day when that happens.
And continue to hire outstanding staff and effectively train them. That's a very important part of your internal mm-hmm. growth of the foundation, is to hire really qualified people that care. Mm-hmm. They're caring people, and then train them, continue to provide training opportunities in their areas of expertise, financial or grant making, whatever yep. area they happen to work in.
Push them to grow professionally.
Sure. And to mm-hmm. interact mm-hmm. effectively with one another. Mm-hmm. And I think with Kathy Robbins' assistance, you've been doing a lot of that the last 2 years.
It's been great. The feedback from the team has just been exceptional.
Right.
But when you say that, it reminds me, Julie, we hired her out of OU, and now she's the CFO. But she went back to OCU and got her degree in tax and a master's, and we paid for all of that. And Tyler went back to OU, and we paid for his MBA. And So that's great to hear that feedback from you, that you really want us to continue making that
No
an
question
important
Now,
piece.
in the meantime, has Julie also passed the CPA exam?
You know, I believe
If
she
not,
has.
she's close.
Yeah, I believe she has.
I think so
Yeah,
too.
I believe she
Okay.
has. Um, I know she did. I know she did one of, you know, she went back and got her master's in tax, I think
Right.
is what it was. So we'll have to keep pushing her,
Yeah,
and one of the things that I'd like to push her on is investments. You know, to really
true.
kind of and Richard's mentoring her on that, and so am I.
She's doing a better job on that too. She's really gotten much more
Yeah.
involved in that, and she understands it very,
But yep,
very much.
it's becoming more comfortable.
Right.
So we're pushing her to do that. But that's a great piece of advice to continue making sure the staff grows personally and professionally.
And then look for new areas of service. For inasmuch, continue the foundation's emphasis on being more proactive. And we started many years ago being primarily a reactive foundation, which is not, there's nothing wrong with that. That's just taking grant requests and either approving them or not approving
Yay
them.
or nay.
But over the years and more recently, we've gotten to become more proactive. Look for areas of interest that you really want to emphasize, and your staff has gotten very involved in that, and I really like.
You think it's okay to try to be, as we get older, as years go on, to get more focused and to hit bigger issues facing the community?
I do. I would not lose sight of the small agencies, and minor gifts to them are very important. I mean, what's considered minor to Inasmuch can be very important to a small agency. I think that should continue to be an emphasis.
Yeah, you could give 25,000 may make all the world
make a
difference.
Huge difference. Even 10,000 makes a huge difference. So I encourage you to keep doing that. But I really like the areas of emphasis and getting your staff involved, being perhaps on the board or even chair some of the boards. So.
And Edith trusted you and Dad, and at the time it was Jamie, but it trusted you all. You know, she really didn't put a lot of guardrails up, or she didn't put a lot of restrictions or tie her hands down. And I think that's one of the big benefits we have.
That's correct.
Do you agree with that, or
No.
does that spark any?
No, that was very definitely the case. She would always review the gifts that we would approve, and there would be rare occasions where she might say, well, maybe you don't give as much to this one, or there may have been one or two over all the years that she was still living where she said, I don't want to give to that particular agency, but that was almost non-existent. So,
she really set us up for success by doing that.
I think so.
In my opinion.
That was an important part of.
Yeah.
I've worked with foundations in the past where the founder would provide significant restrictions on giving to just certain charities, or anyway.
And then what if the charity changes, or what if the need in the community changes?
Yeah, exactly. The charity, that particular grantee goes away.
Goes that way, or goes out of favor.
Right.
So Edith was real, and do you and Dad remember guiding her in that way?
Yes, I do. I think we both talked to her about that.
So picture someone sitting here 50 years from now, not us. What would you tell them about words of wisdom for the foundation?
To just continue to make gifts that primarily impact people in need, to improve their lives as well as other members of their generation and their family, as well, and then following generations of that same family. That would be my initial advice to them.
Thank you.
Okay.
So we wanted to start off by just simple questions and have a conversation about the first time you met Edith, and talk a little bit about Edith and just your memories of her and what she was like and what she was all about.
Well, I just had a fascinating history with Edith that started because I was on the Sunbeam Home Board here in Oklahoma City, and we wanted Edith to be, when she moved back from Washington, D.C., we wanted her to be part of the Sunbeam Home Board. So I was the chosen one to come meet her and talk to her about it. And she knew my family, so she was glad to see me at her house. And so I went and had a nice visit with her about everything, and she was delighted to know more about me and life. And so we set up something then with Bill Ross, and she told Bill, she gave him my name and some other names for people she wanted to have involved. And so then Bill told me that I was one of the ones that she would like to have involved, and I was just thrilled. So that's when we got to know a little bit more.
Do you remember the year or
well,
thereabout that you met?
Out. I think it must have been in the 70s.
She came back from D.C. in the 60s.
Okay, well, it's right after that. It wasn't too long after that. Then it was early 70s.
And so you were on the Sunbeam Family Services Board, and did Edith agree to join the board, or what did she agree?
She agreed to join the board. I think she's been very generous with Sunbeam ever since I recall. I don't know because I don't ask anymore. But
yes, she was.
She was very generous with Sunbeam. Yeah. So
what was it like serving on the Sunbeam board? Do you have any memories of that, serving with Edith on that board?
Well, I think it was about the time I went off the board, and with me going off, I think she replaced me. On the board.
Okay.
But I was delighted to get to know her because I really hadn't known her before, and I thought it was nice. And so I said, well, let me take you out to dinner, because she'd been so generous about giving me her time about the Sunbeam. So we went out to dinner and at a Chinese restaurant, and we ordered this big fish. They used to do it. It wasn't I couldn't remember the restaurant.
Hunan.
But I wanted her to have
I bet it was Hunan.
I think it was. So I wanted to have something really special for her. So I ordered this great big fish, which was very expensive. And then when time came to end the evening, they brought me the bill, and I couldn't find my wallet. So that was the way I got to meet Edith. She had to pay for the dinner.
Did she think that was hilarious, or
she thought it was pretty hilarious? So we got to her house, and I got out of my car to let her out of the car, and there was my wallet on her driveway. So it had fallen out of my purse somehow or other. So then I reimbursed her, and then we had many good
laughs about that.
Yes.
So you ordered this really swish dinner.
Just special dinner. I didn't think she would have ever had a fish like that.
And then
I couldn't pay for it. So that's the way it all started.
That is hilarious.
Yeah,
Jeanne.
but she was really an interesting person.
Did you have much of an opportunity to talk to her about her giving and her philosophy?
Oh yes,
and
tons about it.
And what was that?
Because when Bill called and said that she would like me to be part of her advisory committee to run a foundation she was open, and Bill explained she was having a foundation and she was going to put some money in it, and then later she'd add more money to it as time went on, and that she also wanted to invite Barbara Yalick, who's a person I knew from Colorado Springs, because I was president of the junior league here, and Barbara was president of all the junior leagues in America at the time, and she was visiting the one here at one time. So that's how I got to know her. So Barbara and I, and then there was a third person who wasn't there very long.
Right, and so during that, so after you were selected to be on the advisory committee, then did you go to Edith and ask her about her philosophy?
Well, because I was on the advisory committee, then Barbara and I met all the time trying to put together what we thought would be a foundation office and how to do that. So we went to Tulsa. We had a luncheon meeting in Tulsa with all the people in Tulsa that ran different foundations and things. And then we went to Colorado Springs and had a nice luncheon, and then to Denver. And so we met with lots of people telling them that we wanted their good advice on how to build a foundation. So then we took lots and lots of notes and lots of minutes of every meeting. And then I would take all the minutes by to Edith, and she would read the minutes, and then she would always call me on the phone and want to hear them over the phone, and I would read them to her, and she'd say, "That's all wrong. No, that's not right at all. You're going to have to change it all." The first time she said that, and I thought, "Oh my gosh, what did I do wrong? What do I need to do differently?"
Right.
So I started with the first paragraph, and I read it to her, and it had something to do about where Edith went to college. And I had gotten that information from the history book of some sort.
Yeah.
And I had her at the wrong college. So she corrected that, and then I thought, now we're going to take paragraph 2, and it's a 2-page thing. So I read paragraph
This is
2.
gonna
She
take
said,
a while.
no, that's the only thing that was wrong. Everything's fine.
Oh, okay, good.
So from that point forward, I just always was ready to make changes, but she always wanted to read
She was
everything.
a wordsmith.
She was very much so, and she wanted to read everything and know everything we were talking about. And so because I lived here and Barbara lived in Colorado, I got to know Edith because I went to see her at least once a week, maybe twice a week from that point forward, so I did get to know her. And
Was that the first time you met her when you went and asked her to join the Sunbeam board?
I'm sure that I had met her before then, but I don't remember it. That's the first time I remember it was when I went to see her about the Sunbeam home.
Gotcha. And then is there, from a giving standpoint, is there anything special in particular that Edith was passionate about at that time that really sticks in your mind? Anything that...
I think she was always so passionate about education. She just believed that if everyone had an education, the whole world could be much better than it was. And so she really wanted to support good education everywhere. And I think always support people who struggled and were without things. When I was thinking about coming today to talk to you, I thought the one thing that sticks in my mind that is really the most important thing is the word "the least." It comes from Inasmuch.
Right.
The statement in
Inasmuch as
Matthew.
you do it to the least of these.
Give it to the least of these, and that's what she wanted was that whatever she had, she could support the least of these. So I've always appreciated that about her.
You have been a great philanthropist in this community as well, giving away to a lot of different charities. It was Edith an inspiration to you personally in your giving and your philanthropy?
Absolutely. I mean, I've always believed in giving, but she did such a gracious and wonderful job of wanting to give and being very modest about it too, though. But she made me believe that the importance of what I had wasn't just that I'd be holding on to it forever, but that whatever I had, if I could make a difference in lives, that would be wonderful. So we would have lots of conversations about what kinds of things you could give to. And education was always, it seemed to me, to be a number one in her mind, and it's certainly important to me too. And whatever I've had, I've been able to share and give more than I thought I even had. So I'm really pleased with it all. It's not a lot, but it's good.
That's great, Jeanne. Are there particular Inasmuch gifts over the years that you're especially proud of that you'd like to talk about? Anything dating back to 1982 or something we did a year ago? Are there some things in education or health or community or journalism or anything that we've done that are particularly...
Well, I don't know. I think...
I know you were so passionate about mental health in your career.
Yeah, absolutely.
And what we learned from you over the years is, and about you, is that you really brought mental health to the forefront in our community.
Yeah.
You encouraged the Mental Health Association to merge and become one, and there was a big stigma behind mental health.
It was about to disappear here. And
the Mental Health Association in Oklahoma City was about to go away.
It's about to disappear, and we were able to really get it going strong again. We had some good, strong leaders then too, and so it's kept going all this time. It's a little less defined than it used to be, just because it doesn't have an office building that like a lot of foundations have, and doesn't have a lot of things, but it supports the concept of good mental health. And
absolutely.
I still believe in that, and everybody needs to believe in it.
I know, like the arts at Quartz Mountain was always passionate.
Right.
Oklahoma City Art Museum.
Right.
You were always so passionate about the arts.
Absolutely, about the arts. Yeah.
And obviously our high quality early education, that was a big investment we've made with Early Head Start and Sunbeam and
absolutely,
Educare.
Absolutely. All those things, they just kind of are all a part of a piece of a puzzle.
Yeah.
Yes, little bits of it that, if you fit it all together, you could see one picture. But when you look at them individually, they're just little interesting pieces. But they all played a part in Oklahoma City.
I remember
offering things.
I remember a small gift back when the foundation was really small. Something about eagles being saved in their nest or something up there in Tulsa. Wasn't there some
Yes.
avian?
Yeah, yeah,
That you all loved the guy.
yeah.
You know,
We
there were-
loved the guy, right?
Yeah, you
right.
all, and you found some kind
I
of
can't think of who it was. but
eclectic groups that were doing some things that were real special.
yes, this Barbara and I both were
Yeah.
involved in. We thought that was really important.
And we named some buildings after Edith in Colorado College. That
Uh-huh.
they have a beautiful Cornerstone Arts Building. And
Yes, right.
OCU dance and
Yeah,
a lot of gifts.
Yeah.
And you were a longtime trustee of OCU.
very long time
Mhm.
trustee of OCU. Well, when I went back to school in midlife, I went to OCU and graduated from OCU. I'd had 2 years of college when I got married, so I had to go back and get a degree.
Okay, yeah. And so were you always pleased that we were able to give back to OCU?
Absolutely.
school.
I still support it
Mhm.
as much as I can
Mhm.
because it's a wonderful school.
What drives your passion for film and donating to film?
I think film has always been something that I've loved. I appreciate film and poetry more than anything. So that's, to me, those two things can make such a difference in people's
Mhm.
lives. And when you can see a good film, and there are many kinds of good films, when you can see a good comedy, when you can see a good historical film, when you can see a good documentary, when you can see just a good story,
Mhm.
good stories. And films do that better than the average, even, I think they can even do it better than books for some people. So I've always supported film, loved it, and would do anything I could to help it even now. So
Great.
it's a good thing. And fortunately, film is everywhere. I think I must have 100 channels on my television set that I could watch anything I wanted to watch, you know.
So, Jeanne, just from a personal standpoint, what did it mean to be part of Inasmuch Foundation? I mean, it started off really small, and now it's turned into a $600 million, giving away $30 million a year.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the biggest private foundation in Oklahoma City. What has it meant to have been with the foundation for so long, and to see it grow and to see the impact it's made, just from a personal standpoint?
Yeah, I think that it's a wonderful thing that Edith and her cadre of people who help her money grow.
Mm-hmm.
And she probably was shocked herself at how big it was
Mm-hmm.
before she died.
Yeah.
I know that when Bill called that day and said she wanted to start a foundation, and I think I don't remember exactly, but it seemed like there was going to be about $8 or $9 million in it.
Mm-hmm.
And so Barbara and I, then we very carefully thought about who we were going to give to
Right.
out of that. But then Bill would call and say, well, you know, it's grown to this. And then when she died, of course, it was 300 million
Exponential.
or something.
Yeah.
So it was very exciting to think that kind of money was going to go into making
Mhm.
this a better place to live, making a difference in the world, in the local world,
Mhm.
because she was very much wanted to see that Oklahoma had a lot of extra support and could make a difference.
And so, to you personally, has it just been a very rewarding experience to be part of it? And what is it? What kind of feelings come to mind about being part of it since 1982?
Well, the weirdest thing about it is that then other people gave me some sense of value
Mhm.
because I belong to the Inasmuch instead of the other way around.
You became
Suddenly,
popular. You're saying you became popular.
I suddenly became very popular. Yeah, and I thought, wow, it's amazing. All these people want to talk to me. You know? So
Why?
it's
Why
very-
do they want to come talk to me?
Yeah, it was very good. So
Well, that is good.
I love that, but I love the idea that maybe I could have a little something to say that could make a difference in your life and Bill's life and
Mhm.
anybody who we could talk to.
Mhm.
That maybe, you know, we could talk about subjects and things that people hadn't really taken into account as much as they could.
Remind me about the story of Edith's 80th birthday party.
My goodness.
She had a big party.
Well, we've actually done it twice to her, but this particular one was Barbara and I decided she needed an 80th birthday party. So She said, well, she won't want that. She won't have it or anything. So
She
just,
would
let's
say,
forget
no
it.
way.
And
no
I
way.
said, yeah, but I could go ask her anyway. I think she'd like to be asked. But she probably would say no because she was a very modest person. She didn't want to have her name all known. So I went to see her and told her that we would like to do that. And she said, wonderful. She said, I'd love to have that's a nice thing. I just love to do it. So I was thinking about how nice it would be at the country club, you know, or some great big place. And so I said, well, so we'll do it there, you know, and you can give me the number of people and the time and the date and all. And she said, well, I want to have it at the Chinese restaurant. So I said, the Chinese restaurant, is that right? Okay. So then I said, what about a list of people? And so she said, well, she called me. She said, let me have a little time to think about it. So then she called a couple of days later and I came by. She had 80 people on the list. So we had quite a few people.
And everyone came.
Yeah, it was really fun.
And it was at the Chinese Hunan.
And she walked into the restaurant with a Chinese
gown on.
Gown of some sort.
Yeah, that her dad had given her.
Yeah, her dad had given her. Right. It was a lot of fun.
Where was this restaurant located?
The Chinese restaurant? It was up in the Cassidy Square.
It was the Cassidy Square.
Mm-hmm.
That is great.
Wasn't particularly fancy restaurant.
No, I know.
We had one for her at the country club too, with the same number of people and a few more because it got to be bigger because of people from the university and everywhere.
Yeah, OU and others.
This was when David Warren was president.
Yeah.
Because I remember he was just undone. She wore the same outfit, you know,
and he
same
loved
Chinese gown, yeah. And all the people were thrilled to be there.
Oh, that's so nice.
Honoring her, yeah.
That's a great memory.
Mm-hmm. It was a great memory. Yeah. And I mean, I never will forget, of course, as I told you, that I had ordered that big fish for her.
Right.
And then had lost my wallet.
So it was like flashbacks to the...
Flashbacks of that, things that had happened, yeah. So one of the ways she got to know me, so it's good she didn't think that poor woman doesn't even have a wallet, you know. So,
this
anyway,
party,
we
she
laughed
better,
about it
she
a lot.
better bring her wallet.
She had a great sense of humor. Edith was just a really modest person. She really was. But she was also a taskmaster, as you well know yourself from having been to see her. I mean, you had to do it exactly right. And I'm doing all this typing and taking all these minutes from every meeting that Barbara and I have had, you know, and she'd go over the whole thing and question us and want to know why we thought that was important. And so she taught me a lot about what you look for and what you believe when you're thinking about making gifts of money or of some sort to an organization, that you've really got a lot to think about.
Yeah.
You can't just be handing and giving it out. It's got to have a meaning to it that has value for the whole community.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Well, Barbara and I, you know, at the one at the country club, the one at the Chinese restaurant was so casual that we didn't have to worry about it.
Yeah.
But at the country, it was here at the country club, and we had the whole dining room up there. And I know that we chose calla lilies for the flowers on each of the tables because she loved calla lilies. And then we had to seat each table, which was which. And she had the help, the people that helped her keep her household running. And she had lots of people from the university. And I know that Barbara and I sat at a table with some people that we didn't have a clue who they were, but they were just little people that she had known that were helpful to her in some way, whether it was a person who worked on her car, she loved her car, or whether it was somebody that had done some cooking for her, or she just had
her hairdresser.
Hairdresser definitely was there, yes.
I remember that.
Yeah.
That's pretty neat. You and Barbara Yalick were fast friends.
Well, you know, we did not know each other at all, hardly. I mean, I met Barbara just because I was head of the junior league here, and she was head of all the junior leagues, and she'd been here to visit. And then when she was leaving, I took her to the airport. And so we went to the bar. They used to have a bar upstairs at our airport. And I took her to the bar for a drink and kept my eye on the clock so we'd make sure and go down so she could get on her plane. And when it looked like 30 minutes before the plane, I said, we got to go down. We went down and the plane had left. and the light at the country club had broken, and it wasn't working. So I was following something that wasn't working.
Oh my gosh.
I know. So then Barbara was so upset with me, and I thought, when Bill told me that she was the person that Edith wanted with me, with the foundation,
Yeah.
I thought, Lord, I hope the woman speaks to me again.
I know it.
It's kind of,
You made her miss the
it was,
plane.
yeah, I made her miss her plane. And she turned to me and I said, what would you like to do? And she said, I just want to get on a plane right this minute, and I don't care where I go.
Yeah.
Just get me a plane seat right this minute. I got to leave.
Mm-hmm.
She was visiting all the junior leagues in the whole nation. I mean, I guess it's head of all of them.
And this set her behind.
So she hadn't been home for a long time, and I think Mike was feeling missing her a lot. So she really, I think I put her on a plane to Memphis or something. Just anyway, and I thought the woman, I'll probably never see her again. And the next time I saw her was at a luncheon with Edith.
Oh, wow.
At the Beacon Club.
And then you all became fast friends after that, real close friends.
We have been ever since.
Yeah, any thoughts on the future of the foundation? What would you tell people 20, 30 years from now what to do if you were going to give advice?
I think that it's very important to remember what the name of the foundation is and what it means. When it's given to the least of these, so that's why I said the word "the least" I think is so important. So I guess that would be something terribly important in the future, is to always remember what that means. That it doesn't have to be the hairdresser, but it certainly needs to be the hairdresser also. But the least can mean some new thing that you can have belief in, that has to do with education. And she loved the theater, and I went with her many times to the theater after I got to know her. She loved the local theater, and anytime she got to go to plays. So she loved a good story.
Great.
And so I would certainly hope that as the future went on, that those kinds of things stay in the forefront. Good stories and the least of these being important.
Great.
How you define the least of these, to me, would be one of the most important things. Because there's so many foundations now, and there seem to be lots of money places for foundations. So what does this foundation do different from some of the others? And I don't know of any foundation that focuses on the least of these. So I think that would be the focus I would want you to hold on to. And then I would hope also, since I'm going to be retiring and all the rest of us retiring, don't forget us, you know, and we might still want to call you and tell you what to do. You don't have to do it, but we'd like to have the ability to do it, and that you would listen to us.
Absolutely.
Because I think as long as we're still around, we've got still got a lot of good thinking to do.
Did you see where we put, per your advice, we changed all of our letters and grant contracts? Everything now has the mission statement on it.
I'm so glad it did. I was thinking of that as being a card that would go with every check.
Yeah.
And you can still do that too.
Oh, yeah.
That it's just, the whole mission statement is just printed on a card, and the check is there and it's attached to the check.
We put it on everything.
But I'm so glad you put it on everything. Because, you know, the thing, you hesitated to do that because Edith did not want her name involved.
I know.
She wanted the Inasmuch. She didn't want her name involved. And so I think it's been long enough now that people need to appreciate her and know what she did, because she was an inspiration to everybody in her very modest way. She was an inspiration to everybody. Yeah.
Well,
I felt honored to be a part of it, and I think the only reason I got to be a part of it, I guess, was because of my wallet being lost.
Yeah, taking her to
like
this
that,
big,
where she thought,
this
that
big
poor
fish.
thing. I hope she can find her way around. You know.
I think so. You left an impression.
Yeah, it was good. It was good.
Well, that's great. Anything else you can think of that you'd like to say, or?
Well, I
comes
just
to
feel
mind?
I feel like I've appreciated being a part of it all these years, and I want to support you in any way I can.
Thanks.
And I think that your dad has done a wonderful job in pulling it all together. I really have always told him that, and want him to always remember that I feel that it's very important what he did.
Thanks.
Meant a lot to the whole community, to the whole state of Oklahoma, really.
It's been a big impact.
And she's been an inspiration. Edith's been an inspiration to all of us.
Oh, for sure.
You know, because I don't have a lot of money, but what I do have, I mean, I wanted to use it in a way that I thought Edith using it and thinking about things when she did make any kind of gifts.
Absolutely.
There's always lots to do.
No, there's always
Lots of needs
and
and
she
lots
is
of loss.
she's an inspiration to us and will continue to be.
Definitely. Mm-hmm.
Well, good. Well, this was great, Jeanne. I thought this was a lovely conversation.
Well, I'm so glad to be here. I was thinking I was going to talk about something else. I don't know what I was going to think.
This is perfect. We just wanted to hear your thoughts and get you, kind of post dinner, just anything you wanted to talk about and that came to mind and help us as we, continue down this great path following Edith's legacy, but help us remember all these treasured stories long into the future. What is your first memory of Edith?
Well, my first memory of Edith, I didn't know her, but I represented her dad, E.K. Gaylord. And so one day, I've told this story before too, but one day he called and he said, Edith is moving back to town. She was in New York and in Washington. Mm-hmm. And at that time she was in Washington. And she was moving back to Oklahoma City. And he said, I think she's going to need a lawyer, and I'd like you to meet her if you're willing to take it on. I said, oh, I think I can force it in somehow. And anyway, so then she came back here, and he called one day and said she was down. And so he took us to lunch up at the Beacon Club. And that's the first time I met her. And
was she outgoing? What did y'all talk about?
Yeah, she's outgoing. She was. We talked about Washington and New York, mm-hmm. and we
her journalism
talked
career.
About journalism. Mm-hmm. We talked some about. Let's see. I was trying to think. Colorado College came in the conversation somehow. Let's see. Becky wasn't there yet. This was. Oh, well, Becky was barely here.
Yeah.
This was late 60s.
Yeah.
68 or I think. But anyway, we talked about, her schooling and talked about Wells, mm-hmm. Where she graduated. And so it was just a nice, pleasant day. She was very pleasant.
Yeah.
And Gaylord was, he was over there chuckling and then walked down. At that time, she still had great good health. Of course, he had it till he died. So it was.
So did one of the other lawyers come to the lunch with you?
No, just the three of us. And it was. She really never. Nobody else in the firm really did much. Well, they did all kinds of work for her, mm-hmm. But it'd be stuff that we'd discuss usually.
Right. And at that time, had you transitioned from being a trial lawyer to more business and estate?
Yeah, I had. See, I came with the firm in 68, I was still trying cases.
Yeah, because you stopped trying cases when I was born. When I was born.
Well, let's see, old Streeter Flynn, my senior partner, died in 71. And of course, I stopped entirely at that time, but I had a small amount of trial work, I guess, up to the time that he passed away. Mm-hmm. And so...
how did you decide to go from trial work to more estate planning and business?
Well, one day, Mr. Vos came up and he said, I don't know if you know her. This is after Streeter died. Mm-hmm. He came up and he told me, he said, you've got more clients. We have more of your clients than half the clients that we have represent, or I guess the other way around. That was it. Mm-hmm.
So Mr. Vos, the banker,
his
trust company?
Yeah, his bank. Mm-hmm. we represented so many of the people that he had the trust with. And there was a group in Oklahoma City that were quite wealthy because they were friends of Mr. Flint's. And so Edith, I already had this started with Edith, and some other people, Jesse Moore, and a number of people. I was already handling their matters.
Right.
They were still alive. And so anyway, at that time I switched to, after he died, that was absolutely the end of it. See, and then everybody in the firm passed away. All my senior partners passed away.
In pretty short order.
Yeah. Gordon Rady, let's see, Flynn was 71, and Gordon Rady, I think, was 75, I guess. And his father, old Judge Rady, had already retired. He was 90 years old, and he had retired, so that was it. And,
So it was a good time to transition and
it was just
take care of all those clients.
Well, all the people, all the clients we had, the personal clients. I'd represented in trial work. I'd represented, of course, Santa Fe and McCady and publishing company. We were general counsel for GD, and so I handled all that trial work along with my other partners, through those years.
Yeah. Good.
And so
Good.
It ended up that I did transition out of trial work.
So what type of work did you help E.K. Gaylord and Edith with? And I know Edith's brother E.L. What sort of things did you do for them?
Well, for E.K., of course, we represented the publishing company and handled any matters they had. And other members of the firm were handling the matters too. I mean, it wasn't solely me. But I mean, for instance, he asked me to, he had the Guernsey dairy out here that he dearly loved, Gaylord Golden Guernsey, that, and the city was getting ready to pass an ordinance that restricted cattle in the limits. And so he wanted me to go over with him to the council meeting where they're going to act on it. And I thought, I'm scared to death because I thought, well, we're going to lose this one. So we got over there and they called it. And he said, I'll handle it. He came, thank you, Lord. And so
he stood up and talked.
So he got up and talked, and then he lost it, but I didn't lose it. So anyway, it worked.
Do you think he knew he was going to lose?
No, he was very hopeful that they'd let him keep his barn out there.
So what did that mean? He had to take down the barn?
He had to get rid of the Golden Guernsey there and move it out somewhere.
Did he do that? Did he move it?
No, he just shut her down. And boy, that was a big. You could eat off the floor of that place. I mean, he kept it like it was just pristine. And the milk, you'd get a gallon of milk and it'd be half cream. I mean, these cows were, everyone just probably. We won't get into all that. Anyway, it was.
Well, it's funny because David Hogan mentioned that.
Did he?
Yeah, that he did the accounting on the.
Well, he did.
Guernsey.
See, David handled that, and that's how we got to be close. And at that time,
he said he handled the accounting, and then he also, you all got close. You all had to go to Washington D.C.
Yeah, we did.
To deal with the IRS after Mr. Gaylord, after E.K. died.
After he died, and it was some matter for him, as I recall.
It was the estate. He had passed away, and the stock valuation for Opubco was under. It the valuation was under attack by the IRS, and so you had to go
Is
out.
that what it was
Yeah.
that David told her?
Mhm.
Well, that's what it was. So anyway, we went up to Washington, and David says 14 years younger than I,
Mhm.
and I'd been to Washington, you know, the know-it-all, and so I showed
him.
this youngster around
He said you did.
Washington. Well, it was great fun.
David said when he started working for EK, David was 21 and EK was 91.
That's right. He was 21 when we were, or 22 when we went up there.
And
see?
they were, well, but it would have been 10 years later. So then you all went to DC about 10 years later
Oh yeah, see,
after EK died.
it was after he died.
So
he died in 75.
And he died in 74, right?
74.
He died in 1974, the year of my birth.
Yeah.
And he was how
That's
old?
right.
101.
I won.
So he lived for 10 years. David started working with him for 21 when he was 21. Then
Yeah, so he worked for him
31.
10 years.
Yeah.
David did.
and so he went to Washington D.C. with you
Yeah.
when he was 31.
But see, my firm, Streeter's dad, who was the territorial congressman,
Mhm.
you know, he founded that firm.
Right.
It was Flynn and Ames,
Mm-hmm.
and they represented EK back then.
Wow. Yeah.
And I told you the story about when Streeter died, and his secretary, EK secretary, called me one minute to come up, and he was crying.
Oh.
And he said, Streeter was, I think, 78, which at that time to me seemed like centuries.
Yeah.
Be like you now,
Yeah.
looking at 78.
Mhm.
And so anyway, he was crying. He said, he was the son of my very, very good friend, Dennis Flynn. He said that he's so young to have died. I thought, what are we
78.
talking about? Yeah. But anyway,
That's
it was
funny.
interesting. But
So what?
anyway, back to Edith.
Yeah. What on the into the foundation? Could you or Edith have imagined when you set this up in 1982 that it would be what it is today?
No.
600 million, giving away 30 million a year with one of the biggest.
No, well, I
foundations.
know it was going to be stout because she left everything. She didn't have any children.
Right.
And she had Maxine, her good
Chief of staff.
chief of staff, her
And
her
Ralph
caregiver.
Sewell
and she's the only one she left any substantial amount.
Yeah.
She gave everything else to the foundation.
right.
So I knew it was going to be big because I'd, of course, drawn the trust.
Yeah.
then.
But back in 1982, did you think?
Well, I mean, no, I had no idea, and she had no idea what it was worth,
Mhm.
except we knew it was substantial.
Yeah.
I mean, they owned the Broadmoor, and she had over a quarter interest in that, and so it obviously was in the paper, and of course they had a bunch of other companies. Tom, they had
Gaylord Entertainment.
Gaylord
And
Entertainment.
they own Viacom stock.
And
That was-
Mistletoe Express.
Yeah.
And, just
Oil and gas.
all those subsidiary companies that we knew it was
Yeah.
a bunch, but we didn't know what. And I mean, she was giving substantial amounts. She was limited to what she could give under the tax laws at the time, but she was giving substantial amounts. I can't remember when she started. Right after we met,
Mhm.
she started making substantial gifts, and but at the time that we formed the foundation, I think she was giving away. David could have told you exactly, probably remember, but
Yeah.
I think it was about $2.5 million a year, and of course that was a substantial amount at that time. It is now, but it was really big at that time.
Yeah, it was big.
And so,
Well, when you think back, what are some of your favorite gifts over the years the foundation has
gifts.
given? Is there anything that?
Yeah, I don't know. It's hard to say because, you know, so many of the favored gifts were given to people that handled it so beautifully.
Yeah. So it's hard. It's hard to.
It's hard to pinpoint anything. If there's one
One
that
gift.
I'm really proud of, and I mean, my gosh, it's just part of a national group, but it was educator. Because I think, you know, we pretty much did that on our own.
Yeah.
Oklahoma City.
Yeah.
And of course, we had, I remember when you and I went up to see Susie Buffett.
That was fun, wasn't it?
It was. And she was, I don't know, was she the head of education?
She was the head of her own foundation.
Yeah.
But she was the one that was spreading Educare around the country.
nation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we went up and visited her.
Yeah.
We took John Rex and Bob Harbison. Remember the crew?
Yeah, I
Ray
remember.
Beachy.
I remember the whole crew went up and then we came back. That's when it all started.
Yeah. So that's one you're most proud of?
Yeah, I think so. If I had, and we in Oklahoma City. I think we were solely responsible for that. Maybe there were some others.
We made it happen. There were
We
other
made it
donors.
happen.
There were a
We
lot
made
of
it
other
happen.
donors, but
Made it happen, but I mean, it wasn't a thing that we supported as we normally do in
Yeah.
gifts. It was just unique, and I think the result has been, you know, education of impoverished children.
yeah,
is
absolutely. Birth to kindergarten.
very nice, very nice. Birth to kindergarten, and
What about our gifts to OU? Are you
Oh,
you
well,
you love OU?
I love OU, and I'm very proud of those. And of course, I'm tickled to death about specifically the gifts we made to the law school. We've got the library down there, and
Yeah,
it's
the library and they've got a new several gifts.
several that we've given, and of
Edith,
course,
what did Edith give a gift in your honor?
well, I got my tree down there, and that Joe Harris and David Boren.
But
I
Edith,
think Edith,
did Edith
she-
give a gift to honor you, her longtime lawyer?
well, she gave a substantial amount and mentioned me, which I thought was awfully nice.
The William J. Ross Courtyard.
William J. Ross Courtyard. That's it. I hope Joe Harris is keeping it weeded like I asked him to.
And then the Otis Sullivan Award for Perceptivity. That was a fun
That
one.
was a big deal, and it was fun. Otis Sullivan was he was her boy friend. I mean,
He was a friend that was a boy.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he was a friend of hers.
Yeah.
And, a male friend of hers. You know, she didn't have that many, and she.
And he worked for the newspaper.
And
He
worked
was
for
a
the
great
newspaper.
journalist.
Great journalist, and she set up that award to honor him because she felt he.
Yeah. Well,
She
okay,
said he
so
was
we're
a
getting, okay, so let's back up.
Yeah.
There was Ralph Sewell. Ralph Sewell was the boy friend. And Otis,
Yeah, you're
and
right,
Otis
you're
Sullivan
right.
was
Ralph Sewell.
Okay, so
I'm
talk about
sorry.
Ralph Sewell because he was,
Well, you know, I hadn't even thought about Ralph, but he was her
yeah, he was her
boyfriend.
boyfriend. Yeah.
Yes, and they were very close, and he too was a journalist at the paper.
Yep.
And he was just a great guy.
He was
fun.
her companion.
Yeah, and you know, and she could get mean and cantankerous, and he'd be very gentle and very smoothing, keep everything on the.
Yeah. And then Otis Sullivan was a journalist at the paper that she wanted to honor
Yeah.
at OU.
for perceptivity,
Yeah.
because she thought he was.
Yeah. And so we gave a $25,000 award away each year
that
to someone that was perceptive, intuitive, learned from experience, and a bunch of other words I
and
didn't
they
understand.
and they had it was without any classification. I mean, like we gave it to a lady janitor.
Mm-hmm. Right at the Gaylord School. Yeah.
And that's an example of what she wanted. She wanted people that otherwise were not apt to get any kind of recognition. She wanted to have it. She never said it in that many words, but I mean, she'd direct things, and it was very obvious what she tried to do, because she wanted to touch some of those people, and she did.
Yeah.
It was very, very interesting.
What's your thoughts on the Inasmuch Foundation staff and the team and working at the foundation at the office for?
I think the staff. I think that staff is pristine. I cannot imagine having a finer, more intelligent. They're all well educated. They all have nice personalities. They get along. They're easygoing. They work like the Dickens. They like their work. They're great with each other. They just, as a team, it's just, I am just amazed. I've never seen anything like it home. In the last 92 years, I haven't seen anything else like that. And it's just wonderful.
Did you enjoy working with them in the office?
Oh, gosh, it's just great. Just great, every one of them. And I mean, they were, you know, like Nancy retired, but, you know, but then the others came, they were young. I mean, look at their histories. I mean, you've got a former classmate of yours from grade school.
Yeah,
got Sarah.
Sarah. We've known.
And,
I think we knew each other since preschool, but I can't remember for sure.
Preschool, I guess.
I think Mother's Day out.
Yeah, whatever it was.
Yeah.
You know, she was there, and then of course we've got Richard, who's retired now, I guess, or at least partially.
He's our senior advisor.
Senior advisor.
Isn't that fancy?
And but anyway, well, I mean, you talk about somebody intuitive now. He comes right out of the wall when it's. You talk about that. He's done so much for the place, and he's fun, and everybody likes him. And then you've got Julie, who's just brilliant. She'll do anything. She can do anything. It's all perfection. Everything is just perfection. You got Tyler, who just kind of fell in her lap. He's W&L graduate in journalism, for heaven's sakes. And he came down here because he wasn't finding anything he liked up in Buffalo, New York. And it was just, he had a chum down here. He came down, see the chum, and you grabbed him. And I mean, he's just a jewel, and Alt is a jewel, and Steve is just remarkable.
Yeah.
I mean, every one of them. It's just
Brittany.
Brittany. I mean, my gosh, Brittany. She takes the best care of us.
We haven't.
She's so dedicated, and it just.
We have a new one that you haven't met yet. A new Ann that works with Tyler and.
Oh, really?
Alta and Sarah. Yeah, she's the new E.
The new E. I miss E. But anyway,
she's the new E. And she lives in Norman, and she worked at OU, and she's fabulous.
Does she really?
She really is.
I'm very anxious to meet her.
Yeah.
About what age is she?
She's in her 40s. Yeah, we're the same age.
That's about everybody else.
She just started working last week.
Well, I really.
Isn't that great?
Yeah.
A couple weeks ago.
Oh gosh, I sure want to meet her. I wish I could. Wish I was a little bit.
Well, you'll
more.
meet her. We'll have
Yeah, well,
functions.
We'll have a party for Christmas for the whole
Exactly.
staff or something.
You'll see her.
Yeah, get them out to the house. I can't get down there very easy, so that'd be.
But it's a good team, isn't it?
Oh.
And you would walk
Oh.
in every day and go say hello to everyone.
Oh yeah, well, I wanted to see them every morning, so I'd drive around on my geezer mobile.
Yep.
Say hi.
Say hello. Do some.
So, no, those were.
Now, what advice do you give to the team 20 years from now? What advice do people need to hear and know about giving money away or investing money or the foundation or Edith?
It's not advice; it's a directive. Do it wisely, and make us a lot of money because you can't give it away if you don't make it. And I'd like to see I'd like to see the worth of the foundation better. Although I'm very, very proud of the job that that you've done with it. We've gotten it from what was it when Edith died? 175.
When she died, we were at 300, 320,
were we?
and now we're at six.
Now
I
we're-
like to say 600.
Yeah,
We had a
we're-
little setback this
Well,
quarter.
I mean, it's been kind of a tough month,
Mhm.
but yeah, we were at 600 at the end of the year, weren't we?
Yeah,
Yeah, so we've doubled it. Plus,
Mhm.
we're giving away 300.
30 million a year,
You know,
25 to 30 with our pledging, 30
Yeah.
million.
you know, well, at first we didn't give that much.
Oh,
We were
no.
giving 5%.
At first, we were giving away 15.
But we're probably in total, since she died in 01, we're probably giving away 250 maybe.
I
or
think
200.
we've given away more than she donated to the
Well,
foundation. I think we're above 300.
And so then in addition to that, we've doubled the amount that that's in the foundation from what it was initially in 01. So I mean,
Think about if we didn't have to give money away.
yeah, I mean that's the thing. But
We'd be over $1 billion.
yeah, it would be over big. We'd be after George Kaiser.
Yeah.
But anyway, no, it'd be great. But that's what I would hope for them to do. And I mean, and I would recommend they keep carefully picking the co-workers that
Mm-hmm.
keep everybody happy. I think that's the secret to
Mm-hmm.
the whole thing, including making the additional funds, and which we've got that lovely staff that just couldn't be any better.
Yeah.
I think she'd be pretty happy with everything that we're giving, but she would have favors. She loved anything that was given to people of lesser means, and
Mm-hmm.
so any of the gifts we make, she'd love the, for instance, she'd love Remerge.
Mm-hmm.
She'd love Remerge because she was always for women, and here are women getting out of jail, and here's a
Program to help them.
program that meets them when they come out the cell door
Mm-hmm.
and helps them with their lives. And I think she'd be just very, very happy with that. She'd like what we're doing with. She'd love Educare because it helps. It helps early children from birth to first grade with or kindergarten with funds that would otherwise there wouldn't be any way they could get what.
And you've had some of your caregiver children go to Educare. Isn't that funny?
Yes. We had.
You've known people that went to Educare.
We do indeed. Caregiver workforce, and she's raising her granddaughter, and her daughter who's has problems,
Mm-hmm.
lives with her, and she takes care of her daughter and the mother of the 4-year-old. And she started, one of my caregivers that started in this child when she was, I guess, late 2s. And now she's 4 years old. She's been there 2 years. And she'll graduate in the spring. But
That's great.
it's just been a wonderful thing for her.
You mentioned Edith would have been proud of our giving to the least of these, to the most disadvantaged families. That reminds me of the name of Inasmuch Foundation. Inasmuch as you do it unto the least of these, you do it unto me.
That's the name of it. It's biblical, and let's see, it's Matthew, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
The Gospel of Matthew.
Yeah. Inasmuch you do for these least of my brethren, you do for me. And if there was ever a person that was not hung up on religion, or you'd ever think that'd be the last thing cross your mind, it was Edith. But obviously, there you are. She
pulled the name from the Bible.
She pulled the name, and probably her most, well, obviously her most important work. She left everything to it. And that's the name of it.
That's great.
It is, and it was. She was I could go on about her. She was just absolutely remarkable. And anyway, it's been good.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and you all were just good friends as well.
Oh,
she
we
was your
were.
client, but
Well, you were a good friend.
yeah. Uh-huh.
You started going over there to her house with me. You were 4 years old. You'd bust in and knock her out of the way to get in to see that, whatever that.
Paddington Bears.
Paddington
Yeah,
Bear.
we like to go see
You
Paddington.
like the Paddington Bear. I thought, well, he's really
I know.
slit his wrist.
Were you
with her.
second guessing taking me along for the ride?
I was thinking there's been a big mistake, but then, then 30 years later, why, she calls on the phone, and I went over there on Wednesday after she became ill, and she called one Wednesday and said, bring Bob over. Or she called earlier the week, said, try to bring Bob over when you come this Wednesday. I said, well, that'd be great, except he's working for the law firm. And she said, well, they do work for fees over there, don't they? And I said, yeah, and sure enough, he went, and then y'all got started.
We started going. I started going with you every Wednesday to meet.
You went
her.
every Wednesday with me, and then she wanted you to take it over, but as we say in the estate planning business, when my business matured.
Which you keep hanging around.
Yeah, I keep hanging around. I won't get out of your way. But anyway, somewhere or other 20 years ago, you came over, and it's remarkable what's happened in those 20 years.
Yeah, I wish I'd written down the date of the first meeting over there.
I do too.
But I'm pretty sure it was the fall of '99 or the spring of 2000.
Do you think it was?
Well, because I graduated law school in '99.
Did you?
And it wasn't very long after I started McAfee and Taft that you invited me over. I think my first meeting was October '99.
Well, I mean, you'd be qualified to go.
Yeah,
over to
I think that's when we
Terry
started. And then
Yeah.
she didn't die till January '01.
01.
Yeah, so I had two years
two
and
years
a couple
or-
months with her
2 years
as
of
a
Wednesdays.
lawyer. Yeah, every Wednesday.
Anyway,
Did you enjoy? Did you always look forward to your Wednesday meetings?
Yeah, they were fun, and when she was disabled, oftentimes, she'd mentioned something and that's going on in the city. They'd be building something. I forget what. First time we did it, I don't even remember what it was, but I said, "You want to see it?" She said, "I'd love to see it someday." I said, "Well, that's 2 days." And so we got in the car and I drove her down and looked at it. And so we'd take rides and go see things. And we'd actually discuss a little business
Yeah.
while we were driving around.
Well, good.
But anyway, it was a great experience working with the Gaylords.
It was a good run, wasn't
It
it?
was a good run. Darn good run. But
Well, what else comes to mind? Anything? Anything comes to mind that you want to say? Or
well,
remember, like I said, I feel like we've got so many different
yeah,
vignettes of you in the history, but
I know.
we
We've repeated a bunch of stuff today.
Yeah.
I don't know what
we
They're
do, but
just-
we
they're
like to cover our
main
bases.
stories. They're just, but they are repetitious. Well, I don't know. The only thing I can say is keep doing what you're doing with the whole herd at the foundation. And I mean, we're a factor in the city.
Mm-hmm.
And you asked me earlier what I'm really proud of. I'm really proud of that. I'm proud that we're a factor in the city. And
A city you love
yeah,
very much.
I kind of like it. I've been here for 92 years and nowhere else. And I think it's a pretty neat spot.